Hello, good evening, and welcome to another program in the series, Your Health, Your Action. I'm Peter Aline. We welcome viewers to CBC TV 8 online, on Facebook and on YouTube, and our listeners on Voice of Barbados. The epidemic of CNDCs has been a concern at the national level for quite some time, posing devastating health consequences for individuals, families, and communities across Barbados, and threatening to overwhelm our health systems and the public purse. The COVID-19 pandemic has further compounded the situation. Those already impacted by NCDs neglecting their at-home care, and others shifting their focus to avoiding COVID-19 and not monitoring other health changes to seek early diagnosis and guidance. This evening, we continue our solutions, and it's a solutions-oriented conversation. My co-host for the program is David Ellis, and he will tell you more about this national response to NCD management and about our special guest. Hi, David.
Yes, good evening. Let me put myself better together, and good evening to the listeners and the viewers, and also a very warm welcome to you, Peter,
Thank you.
For sharing this evening's program with me. Our special guest this evening is a community nutrition officer working with the National Nutrition Center in Barbados. As you know, this program has been made possible because of the cooperation and collaboration of a number of agencies, the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister's Office, as well as a number of NGOs. And Mariam Burnham is going to be taking us to a supermarket this evening, where she is going to guide us on this question of food labels, what to look for when we go to the supermarket.
Okay, well, we are going to do all of that after the break. We will chat with Marianne first, and then we will see just what she discovered when she visited the supermarket and looked at those labels after the break. Welcome back. This evening on Your Health, Your Action, we are taking a look at those very pesky labels, labeling on things, foods we eat and that we consume, and drinks and so on. And remember, if you have any concerns, if you have any questions or comments, you can join the conversation. You can give us a call on 228-5562, or 228-5563. So, David, would you like us to meet our guest, meet Marianne?
Of course, because this is against the backdrop of telling people time and time again that there's a necessity to eat healthy, to be very careful about what you eat. And we put a lot of emphasis on portion sizes. But when it comes to what exactly we are eating, that's a different question, because often we go into the supermarket or the grocery store, we pick up items and we just put them in the bag and take them home. So Marianne Burnham went to one of the popular supermarkets, and she'll be with us live as well, but we'll take you to a tour that she took us on when she went to one of the popular supermarkets.
We give them these chocolate drinks filled with sugar that we add. So the product comes already with the sugar in it, and then we still add sugar to it. So that creates a huge issue for our children, because they're starting their day with a high source of sugar in their body, and that's what their pathways become accustomed. We are here in the canned food aisle. Canned foods tend to be a regular part of our diet, and also it's hurricane season, so we tend to have a bunch of these stocked up in our cupboards. Now, I'm starting with corned beef today. That's a common food that we put with rice, that we cook with macaroni, that we eat with biscuits or crackers. And everybody likes their corned beef, but what's in the corned beef, So the ingredients of this corned beef I have are corned beef, beef, salt, sugar, there's a preservative in it, which is sodium nitrate. So those are the ingredients in the corned beef, and the corned beef is like a salted beef or preserved beef. All right, so in a serving of the corned beef, which is 2 ounces, a little 2-ounce portion, there are 130 calories, and there are 6 servings in here, so you can get 6 servings from this one can. The total fat in here is 9 grams, which is 14%, and the saturated fat is 20%. Now, in terms of when we're looking at the nutrition facts label and you're looking at the percentage value, 5% is low and 20% is high. So whatever is close to 5%, it is low in that particular nutrient. Whatever is close to 20%, it is high in that particular nutrient. So the fat in here is 40%, and that's quite high. And the saturated fat, which is the fat that tends to clog your arteries, the fats that we want to try to avoid, is around 20%. So it's already high in saturated fat for a 2-ounce portion. Remember, we can get 6 ounces from here. And it doesn't have any trans fat, which is a good thing. The cholesterol is 78 milligrams, and cholesterol is the fat that tends to build up in our arteries. When we eat high cholesterol foods, they can lead to us having high cholesterol, high amount of saturated fat in our body, which leads to us taking medication for that. So the cholesterol in this is at 26%. Remember, anything that's 20% is high and 5% is low. So the cholesterol is at 26%, which is very high already. The sodium now is 550 milligrams. Is that high or low? Well, it says 23% for the sodium, so we know that is high sodium. Actually, anything that is 140 milligrams or more per serving is high in sodium, and this is 550 milligrams, which is 23% sodium, so it is high in sodium, and it does have in 12 grams of protein per 2-ounce portion. So in terms of protein, it is a good source of protein, but we have to watch the amount of fat and sodium in the can. Now, this is the same brand, but it's the lower sodium brand. It is not a low sodium product, but it does have in less sodium. And in this brand, I'm looking at the sodium here. The cholesterol and the fat is basically the same. The sodium is 411 milligrams, which makes up 18%. So we've gone from 23% to 18%. So the sodium is still high in the less salted brand. I mean, you can buy it to make an effort to lower your sodium, but regardless, corned beef is a high sodium food that you need to be mindful of. Nothing is wrong with having it on occasion, but as a daily food or something that you eat a few times a week, I wouldn't advise it. Lots of people love sardines. Sardines are very healthy, excellent source of vitamin D, excellent source of protein, so we want to eat our sardines. So the per can of this sardines, so you get 1 serving per container. So if there are about 3 or 4 fish in here, that is your serving. and that is the amount of information they've given us for the back of the label. And please be reminded that the labels give us the amount for one single serving. So sometimes there are multiple servings inside a can, as we saw in the various cans that we just checked out, or sometimes there's one serving in here. So there's just one serving in this sardine tin. Now this is sardine in olive oil. Sometimes we can buy sardine in just regular water as well. And this is a good source of protein. So this entire can has about 17 grams of protein, and that's actually a really good source of protein. I think a portion of protein is about 6 or about 7 grams. So if you get at least 2 portions of protein from this one can, so that's a healthy thing. It does have in a bit of saturated fat at 2 grams, so this has no percentage daily value. It has so the healthy fats are in here. I see here they have monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fats, and those are the unsaturated fats, the healthier fats that we want to consume. So they're high, they have a significant source of the unsaturated fat. They do have in some natural cholesterol at 60 milligrams, and the sodium in here is added sodium at 405 milligrams. So in terms of this can of sardine, I would say you have to be mindful of the amount of sodium, because remember I said anything that's 140 milligrams or more per portion is high in sodium. So I would say to watch your amount of salt in the sardine. There's 93 milligrams of calcium and vitamin D. So it's a good source of vitamin C. With the sardine, I would say watch the amount of sodium that you consume. We have lots of peas and beans and brown rice. You know what? The peas and beans are a significant source of vegetable protein. These are full of your essential amino acids, an excellent source of fiber, an excellent source of certain vitamins and minerals. So I would recommend you have these. You know, we don't always have to do the chicken and fish. Yes, we have our peas and our rice, but our peas can make a significant source of our daily protein intake. So we need to lean on these different peas and beans more. The brown rice is also a nice option. The brown rice just has more fiber than the natural white rice, right? So the brown rice wouldn't raise your blood sugars as much as the natural white rice. So we just need to be mindful of the type of rice we eat, especially when with rice being a major part of our diet. I would say eat your brown rice and, you know, have your choice of peas and beans. When you choose your various herbal teas, sometimes you have to be mindful of the amount of caffeine in it, caffeine which is a naturally occurring substance. But sometimes these herbal products or these teas have added sugar. So I would say to you, be mindful of the added sugar teas. Turn and see how much sugar it is per packet. You'll want to be mindful of the added teas. Like for example, some ginger products have added teas. What we need to be very mindful of, however, would be the chocolate drinks. Now, we all have our unsweetened cocoa that we can add milk and sugar to, but the chocolate flavored drinks tend to have in plenty added sugar. So yes, some of them might have added vitamins and minerals, but plenty of them have added sugar. And we give our children chocolate drinks every morning, and we give them these chocolate drinks filled with sugar that we add. So the product comes already with the sugar in it, and then we still add sugar to it. So that creates a huge issue for our children, because they're starting their day with a high source of sugar in their body, and that's what their palates become accustomed to, and so that's what they call for. So be mindful of the chocolate drink that you're feeding your child or that you're drinking yourself. If it has added sugar, are you adding more sugar to it? Are you adding condensed milk to it, which is another source of added sugar? So if you are, I would suggest that you relook at that, you revise that, because you're starting your day and starting your kids' day with a lot of added sugar that they don't need. So now we have cooking butters. You know, this is Barbados. We put cooking butters in our steamed food. We put it in our stews. We bake with some cooking butter. So it's good to be mindful of what's in the cooking butter. So this cooking butter here has about 90 calories probably per tablespoon, right? And the cooking butter has saturated fat in it. So this cooking butter has 6.4 grams of saturated fat, which makes up 32% of your percentage daily value of fat. You have to be mindful of these things. They might flavor the food, but if a tablespoon of this is making up 32% of your percentage daily value, you know that, you know, this is a very high fat product. All right. So the sodium in this is around 250 milligrams, which makes it 11%, and this is just a tablespoon. So you might be using more than 1 tablespoon. So you need to be mindful of the amount of cooking butter that you use. Also, This other one that you might use more in baking, this particular one has about 100 calories per tablespoon, and it is a source of saturated fat at 22. The total fat, it makes up about 17% of the daily value, and the saturated fat makes up about 22% of the daily value, and it has in less sodium at 85 milligrams, which makes up 4%. So the sodium isn't bad, and this one is more used in baking. So you want to be mindful of the cooking butter that you choose to put into your food, and the amount of fat that it is adding to your food, the amount of sodium, so choose wisely. So we're in the snack aisle, you know, we have a lot of fun in the snack aisle, and what can I say? In the snack aisle, you have to watch the amount of salt, sugar, and fat you consume. When it comes to the, the chips and certain items like that, oftentimes they have a lot of MSG or monosodium glutamate added to it. So you need to be mindful of those things. Even if I buy a bag of chips, I tend to choose the chips that do not have the monosodium glutamate in it. You do have chips and cookies and crackers, etc. You know, the crackers would have less sugar than a biscuit or a chocolate biscuit. This particular pack of chocolate biscuit is very popular here, and there are actually 200 calories in this 4-pack of chocolate biscuits, and about 3 teaspoons of sugar. So the sugar in this I would be mindful of. You know, it's not a harmful pack of chocolate biscuits, but some children get these every single day as their snack. Nothing is wrong with giving your child an occasional pack of biscuits or cookies or chocolate cookies, but are you going to give them the cookies every day? You need to be mindful of that. Other than that, you know, have fun in your snack aisle, but how many snacks are you giving your child a day? Are you just buying some plain crackers and putting them in the lunchbox, or all the lunchbox, or is the lunchbox filled with cookies that have cream filling, or cookies that are covered with chocolate, or some candy flavor, something? You need to be mindful of those types of foods that you might choose. Nothing is wrong with choosing, you know, a multigrain cracker or a rye cracker to eat with your biscuits, cheese, to eat with your tuna or your cheese or peanut butter, right? But you have to be mindful of the high sugar, high fat, and high salt items that might be found in this aisle. Now we are in the drink aisle, so we have a bunch of soft drinks and juices, and it could get a little ticklish in this area. Added sugar is a major concern. You know, we have juices with no added sugar. We have some soft drinks that have an alternative sweetener in it, so it's 0 calories. They might taste sweet, but they don't raise your blood sugar because it's not regular sugar. But still, all of these are added substances to the drink, so we have to choose wisely. So this is a popular drink that a lot of children usually choose, this little small bottle here, and this has about 70 calories in it, but for this amount, which is like a cup, we have about 18 grams of added sugar. 18 grams of added sugar, and that is the equivalent of 4.5 teaspoons of sugar. So 4 grams is a teaspoon. So 18 grams are here. It's 4.5 teaspoons of added sugar in this little small drink. So if we give our children 2 of these a day, you know, you're going to be consuming 9 teaspoons of added sugar. This is not advisable at all. You can understand, you know, if it's a treat on occasion, but this is nothing really to give children. And, you know, these, you have to be mindful about the companies that are allowed to come to schools to do marketing. So when they market their little drinks and stuff like that and give everybody the free drinks, they feel smart and they feel fussy, and, you know, they might go home with a drink in mind and tell mommy and daddy to purchase it. But 4.5 teaspoons of sugar in this drink, you have to be mindful of. Now this here is a juice. You know, we might say we might choose a juice versus a soft drink, so it's a healthier option. So yes, the juice has fruit juices in it. You know, it's a good source of vitamin C. In this particular juice here, we have 100% vitamin C. But the problem in this juice here is the amount of added sugar. So this has 13 grams of added sugar, which makes up about 26% of the percentage daily value. The added sugar is about just over 3 teaspoons of sugar per cup of juice. So we need to be mindful of these. I usually say to dilute. Do half juice, half water, and let that be the serving until the next day. We don't need to drink a full cup of sweetened juice. We have to be mindful of these things. We do have another popular soft drink here, which is about 70 calories per cup. But in this popular soft drink bottle, there are about 2.5 servings inside this bottle. And they're telling you how much is in 8 ounces, how much is in the cup, but there's 2.5 cups inside this bottle. So inside this bottle, the significant thing about it is that it now has in sweetener, right? We are like an alternative sugar source, which helps to reduce the amount of sugar per serving in this particular bottle. So that's not bad. I realize that this brand eased in the alternative sweetener to drop the amount of sugar, but the total sugar in it is still 18 grams per cup, so it's still 4.5 teaspoons of sugar per cup. So we need to be mindful still of the soft drinks that we choose.
Right. Well, if you are as flummoxed as I am after watching that, you can understand why we have the lady herself with us this evening on Your Health, Your Action. Welcome to the program, Marianne Burnham. It's nice to have you with us.
Thanks, Peter. Very happy to be here.
So, where to start? You have certainly given us, pardon the pun, food for thought. You know, okay, let's look at salt. That whole idea of sodium being so high, the percentage being so high in many of the foods that we eat. What is supposed to be the daily intake? What's the minimum or what's the maximum amount of sodium that you should have in a day?
According to the American Heart Association, the average person should be having about a teaspoon of added salt a day. That's about 2,300 milligrams as a teaspoon. For us, Black people, or for many of the Black persons, we are more prone to hypertension. So we're supposed to have even less of a teaspoon. So we're supposed to have about 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. So that is our maximum, but we consume double, triple, quadruple that on a regular basis here.
Most definitely. And when you consider that we also add even more to the foods that we're consuming, that is definitely concerning.
So, for sure it is. For sure it is.
Was there anything that surprised you? I know you're a professional, but was there anything that surprised you when you went shopping for labels?
No, not really. I did look at some ramen noodles, the instant ramen noodles, and the amount of salt in there was quite surprising. Was very, very high. And then you still had to, mix in the little salty packet that it comes with. So, as a standard thing, we consume a lot of salt here in Barbados. Hypertension is a big deal. It's very prevalent in our population, but we do consume a lot of salt in our cooking and in the products that we buy. So we're at a major disadvantage there if we do not have the knowledge to make the right decision.
David?
Yes, well, I just want to remind viewers and listeners that if you have any questions, you can pose those questions to Marianne Burnham by calling 228-5562 or 228-5563. Let me, though, thank you very much, Marianne, for that particular piece that you did, because I know you worked really hard at trying to produce it. And let me also thank Jordan Supermarket for participating in this particular project by allowing you to come not once but twice. But it really called for a significant amount of effort. One of the significant issues that I found coming out of it is that once you know what is on the label, then you have to adjust the way that you eat accordingly. So I think the most important message here is look at how much you consume of products that are high in sugar, high in fat, and high in sodium.
Correct. So our challenge comes in that we don't just eat these things once a week or once in a while or whatever. We eat these things every day. So if we have hot dogs today, just talking about breakfast, hot dog today, lunch meat tomorrow, burger the next day, chicken nuggets the next day, that's 4 straight days of high salt, processed items, and that is part of a regular breakfast of many Bajans, unfortunately. So we really don't think about it, and we consume these things and we buy these things for our children, and we set them up for having an increased risk of developing the chronic conditions in the future. We have children that are obese, we have children with high blood pressure, and really and truly, we can attribute it to what we eat, right?
Of course,
Right.
looking at all these labels could be very time consuming in a supermarket.
For sure, it can be. But after a while, you would know and understand which products are which. Of course, we buy things that are canned and packaged every day. Not everybody buys fresh or frozen food, but we really do need to be mindful. So, sardines is relatively healthy. It has the extra salt, but is relatively healthy. Lunch meat, on the other hand, is a bunch of processed meat, added salt, it has in nitrates, and what decision are you going to make? Are you going to make the decision for the sardine with the calcium and all the lovely source of protein, etc., or are you going to go for the lunch meat, which is mystery meat with a whole big bunch of additives in it? The lunch meat has more salt. Both of them have salt. The lunch meat has more salt, more additives, more processed stuff. So you have to make the decision there. We want to encourage the population. I don't want to discourage anybody from eating their favorite foods, right? But if your favorite food is high fat, high salt, high sugar, and you're having it frequently, you need to revise that. Okay, you need to have it less often because these things are affecting your health. So the average Bayesian needs to be mindful and needs to start reading labels and get in the habit of reading labels. And it will help you to make a better decision when you step into the supermarket.
Okay, we're going to take a break here, Marianne, and then when we come back on the other side, then we will delve into the sugar aspect and added sugar, unsweetened beverages, what exactly is the difference, because we're finding out that there's still some measure of sugar within those unsweetened beverages. So we're going to come back and talk about that after this break. This is Your Health, Your Action. And tonight we have with us Community Nutrition Officer and Nutritionist Marianne Burnham. And before we went to break, Marianne took us on a journey in the supermarket and went through some really important labels that we definitely should take a look at when we go into the supermarket. And David, I believe we have a telephone caller on the line.
Yes. Welcome
good evening,
and good evening.
caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Good evening.
I just called in to talk about because she was saying she was saying that we need less than 1 gram of sugar per day.
We need less than 1 gram of what?
Of
Sugar
Sugar?
per day. Sodium.
Sugar.
Sugar.
What's your concern?
I was saying that how many soft drinks would be the equivalent to 1 gram on one thing?
Yes, that's an interesting question. This sounds like a very young person posing the question too.
Yes.
Yes, Marianne? I think you were muted.
I think you're muted.
I'm not.
Oh, we're hearing you now.
You're not muted now.
Okay. All right. According to the American Heart Association, for men, adult men, the maximum number of added teaspoons of sugar a day is 9 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, that's like 36 grams. For the women, the maximum number of added teaspoons of sugar a day is 6, and that's around 24 grams. And for children in between ages, I guess 2 to 18, it's 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day, which is about 24 teaspoons of sugar. Our very hot, pretty color soft drinks carry about 17 teaspoons of sugar in the 2-cup bottle, right? Some other brands now have a mixture of sweetener, like a sugar substitute, and sugar, so they're coming in lower. But 1 gram of sugar is very low, is unrealistic. So I can't tell you what drinks have in 1 gram of sugar, but the average drinks have at least 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 grams of sugar, the average soft drink.
I suppose you could say that if you wanted to put 1 gram of sugar, you would have to want Mobby, Peter. You could put it. It would be quite bitter.
Creamy from the bar.
from the bar, not the syrup.
Not the syrup.
The syrup is about 11 teaspoons of sugar per cup.
Wow.
But there are people at home who may seek to circumvent all that has been said about sweetened drinks by making their own and putting too much sugar into their own drinks as well.
For sure. So you can control the amount of sugar, but we have to retrain our palate to accept and appreciate less sugar. So on average, if I go out and I order a juice, or if I'm buying a juice or a drink from a roadside vendor, it's a tasty drink, but it's loaded with sugar, right? So we don't know how much sugar is in a fruit punch or a Mobby or a mixed drink that you might buy from a person, but just from the taste of it, it is high sugar. And Bajans like sugar, so to get your product sold, you will have a lot of added sugar in it. But in general, if you were a child, or for your children between 2 and 18, they're not supposed to consume more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day, according to the American Heart Association. But your average box drink, the standard box drink that you would give a child, has about 8 teaspoons of sugar to start. So from the time you give that box drink as a juice to take to school or whatever, you've exceeded that maximum. So it's very easy for us to go above that 6 teaspoons of sugar a day in the standard drinks that we choose.
Talk about flavored drinks. I notice now that there's you get a bariffle of flavored waters with varying fruits in them and so on. But then when you do read the label, they too have in sugar.
Oh, for sure. So if you're flavoring something, let's say you're at home, you decide I can drop this lime or this orange or these strawberries in this water. That's your natural flavored water, no added sugar. There's the fruit flavor in there or the herb flavor, whatever you choose. But the flavored waters that we have on our market, we have various types of cran water or like a cranberry flavored water. No health benefits, it's a cranberry flavored water. So the small ones can have in about 4 to 5 teaspoons of added sugar. The larger ones can have in about 9 teaspoons of added sugar, and all of them have in sweetener, like the alternative sweetener. So that's why I can't say such little sugar. That's why it is not as much sugar as your typical soft drink. So the flavored waters are drink mixes really and truly. So are they a healthy choice? I would say no. If you were drinking one of our popular 2 cup soft drinks all the time, which is 17 teaspoons of sugar, and now you've gone to the crown water, which is 9 teaspoons of sugar, you're doing better. But these flavored waters oftentimes having added sugar, and they're not healthy drinks to choose.
Where exactly could you go to find information like this? For instance, if I wanted to go online to reinforce this kind of information, where would I go?
Well, the American Heart Association, the American Dietetic Association, the Canadian Dietetic Association. I would go to the credible organizations, even the American Cancer Society. All of this information is contained here, but I would say the American Heart Association has all of the sugar and the sodium and the fat information laid out and explain, and it's consumer friendly, so you can read it and you can understand it there on those sites.
We have to go to break, but before we do, I just have a quick question and then you can answer it on the other side. Is a salt a salt a salt? And I say that because they've got Himalayan, they've got kosher, sea table, rock salt, all of these salts, and some of them purport to be better than others. And is that true, or is that just marketing? We're going to find out from Marianne after this break.
I want to find out whether some are more salt than others.
Exactly. Before we went to break, I asked Marianne about salt. Is there any one better? We know the marketing and so on, what people say, but from kosher to Himalayan, there's the pink sea salt and that sort of thing, and they're saying the ones that are with the coarser grains are better. What's the truth?
Okay. So the salts range from different parts of the world. The Himalayan salt is pink. The salt is going to be different in terms of its mineral content. So certain salts from certain areas might be higher in certain beneficial minerals or have a particular flavor profile. So they're different salts. The thing that they have in common is that they're salt, so there's sodium, right? So the Himalayan salt and your regular table salt will have similar amounts of sodium. The table salt, but the difference is, the Himalayan salt often comes coarse. So when you take up a teaspoon of Himalayan salt, it will be still way less sodium than a similar teaspoon of our iodized salt in the supermarket because the grain is smaller. All right. So it's good if you want to use the flavor salts or the core salts, but you still have to use them in moderation because if you put in too much, they still have the sodium in them and they can
Right.
still raise your blood pressures,
Right.
right? But you still, if we look at it from grain to grain, when you use the coarser salt, when you throw that in, you end up still using less coarse grain salt than regular refined small fine salt.
But the effect is the
It
same on the
depends.
body,
It, it really it really depends on how much you put in, right?
Yeah.
So if it really does depend on how much you put in. So you still have to be mindful of how much you put in. But salt is salt in terms of the common thing that's in it, the sodium. The mineral content is different depending on the source of the salt,
So
and that's
Peter,
where the benefit comes in.
you asked Marianne earlier whether there was any eye opener for her. Is there an eye opener for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your eye opener?
My eye opener, David, was early in her shopping lesson, and I realized that the food. Okay, let's say you're doing corned beef, and then you might add, I don't know, I wouldn't, but cooking butter or something. I'm just saying, you're adding two different things, but with tons of salt in them both. And you're telling me 1,500 milligrams of sodium is my daily, we go over this by so much. It's scary.
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure. So if you just normally have these high salt things in your diet, you're gonna pass 1,500 milligrams a long time, right? So the corned beef and the cooking butter combined, that is a high salt dish. The
The
corned
old
beef
people
salty,
believe in cooking butter and so on.
yes,
So,
for sure, because you
yeah.
see it adds flavor and whatever, but the cooking butter is extremely,
Yeah.
extremely unhealthy. In my life, there's no place for it. And the cooking butter was quite popular when we didn't have fridges.
Yeah.
But now we have fridges, so we need to change. But remember, some people are just accustomed cooking this way. They've come through families, and families, have cooked with these things, and traditions have continued. So sometimes we have to break tradition to improve health.
Quite right. We have a caller on the line, David.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Good evening.
A very good evening to you. I have
Good
two
evening.
questions. Two questions actually. How accurate is the information displayed on some of these labels? One, and two, what is in place to ensure that the information displayed can be trusted?
Wow.
Fair question.
Those are two really good questions. How accurate are the labels? I would assume that they're as accurate as can be. The possibility does exist that actually more salt or more sugar or fat is actually in the product than is there. And how do we know? Look, all these products we're talking about are imported products, right? So we would assume that through their own labeling measures and whatever regulations that they have in place, that they would have followed them and are sharing information that is as close to the truth as possible. But we don't really know that, and we don't have a way to regulate that. It's with our imported products, so we are depending and we are trusting on those overseas or wherever the products were labeled or made that it's true, right? But we really don't have a way of knowing. So it gives us an idea of what's in the product.
So we are going by faith on the one hand and by taste on the other. Because the only other method that we have is to determine, is it too sweet, is it too salt? But then we run into trouble when we try to determine how much fat it has, though. Yeah. And even then, sometimes if it's greasy, you know it's fat.
Yes, if it's greasy, but not
but they're not all greasy. I wanted to find out from you, when nutritionists in Barbados get together, what do they discuss as the things that they believe could be better done to help influence people to do things the right way when it comes to eating?
Well, I will speak to when us community nutrition officers get together. You know, we see the diabetes, we see the hypertension, we see the high cholesterol, we see the obesity every day. And what can people do to improve? They have to know and understand and learn about the food in the first place. So when we talk to people, when we teach people, they're hearing things for the first time. They're like, I didn't know there was so much salt. I didn't know there was so much sugar. Everybody is amazed. So really and truly, people need to learn, have a better understanding of the food they eat and the choices they make, so that they can make informed
What are some of
choices.
the bigger shockers for people out there?
The sugar, yeah. Sugar and salt are the main things we deal with. So the sugar, especially in the soft drink. So when I sit down and I explain the label reading and I tell them how much salt is in, you know, this drink and that drink, their mouths drop. I know, and when they do the calculation, they're consuming 30 teaspoons of sugar a day. Yeah. You understand? That's standard for them, 30 teaspoons of sugar. Or you're starting your day with 10 or 15 teaspoons of sugar. That's how you start your day. So then when you break it down for people and show people, that's when they are shocked and sometimes dismayed, or that's when they understand, oh, well, that's why my blood sugars are so high. Because remember, people are coming to us in that already sick state. They're already sick. So we're trying to help them manage their condition. So if we could educate more and we take more of a preventative approach, it would make a huge difference, because the people that come to us need the help. They're already sick. But how about if we get the person before they're sick, before they're in that position, you know, and we push the prevention aspect? It would save a lot of lives, time, and money if we focus on prevention more, which we tend not to do here as much.
Okay, Marianne, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we will, I can't believe the time's flown already, but we will take a look at fats, because we didn't get an opportunity. We were talking sugar and salt, but a quick look at fats when we come back. This is Your Health, Your Action, and we have a caller on the line. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to ask a question. What is the difference between sugar and salt?
Yes.
Sugar is sometimes they use baking soda or bicarbonate soda, as some people call it, for indigestion. I would like to ask, how dangerous is that for consumption?
Thank you, sir.
Well, the bicarbonate soda, you would have to use it in moderation. I don't have a maximum um, right now in my head of how much bicarbonate soda. And yes, sometimes people use it for indigestion, and we use it in our baking and stuff like that. So I don't know how much is terrible, how much is too much, right? I really can't say how much baking soda is too much. But if we put a teaspoon or two in our baked goods, and we might mix a teaspoon to drink for indigestion. So want to, in my opinion, don't go past 5 and 6 and 8 teaspoons of bicarbonate soda. That might be too much. That's my uneducated determination.
You mentioned cholesterol. Where are we in terms of our diet with creating that particular disease within our body?
Well, the cholesterol is a standard thing that we see in the clinic. The cholesterol comes from a diet high in saturated fat. The cholesterol comes from a diet high in sugar as well. The saturated fats, or the dense fats that tend to clog our arteries, that would be naturally found in meats, the fat that we find on beef and chicken skin and those types of things. And we have some fats that would be in the corned beef and the luncheon meat, added fat. So that particular type of fat lends to poor health. We want to consume more of the unsaturated fat, and we don't consume a lot of unsaturated fat. The unsaturated fat would be, that fat that's naturally found in oils, the oils that are liquid at room temperature, the oils that are naturally found in nuts, the oils that are naturally found in salmon and tuna and sardine are high in unsaturated fat. So we need to be consuming more of these. So in terms of our cholesterol, seeing patients with high cholesterol is a standard thing, and my approach is to try to reorganize their diet. I focus a lot on processed meats because a lot of us consume high amounts of processed meats. I try to get people to reduce the amount of processed meats that they're eating, reduce the amount of fried foods that you're eating, which adds to your cholesterol level, increase your fish intake, and start to increase your fiber intake, which helps to naturally lower cholesterol. So, the sweet potato, the yam, the cassava, the apples, the oranges, some of our local fruits and vegetables are excellent sources of fiber, which we need to eat more of to tackle our cholesterol. But we are in trouble with high cholesterol here in Barbados.
David, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I just want to say that this is yet another eye-opener of a program. This is an area that we don't really talk about as much as we should in the country. And I must confess that doing this, this whole series has really helped me quite a lot to pay greater attention to my exercise and to my diet. I'm a little impressed with myself as a result of the kind of steps that I've taken. And it is all thanks to all of these specialists who've come on board and have been sharing such vital information with us. So I think we have about 5 more programs in this series. But in the meantime, I seriously recommend that those of you who have missed this series of Your Health, Your Action, that you should go to the YouTube channel, where all of those programs are already there, and you can download them at your leisure and your pleasure.
Thank you very much, David and Marianne. Thank you so much. The information was really and truthfully interesting and very impactful, and I hope that many of our viewers and certainly, listeners have listened to what you said and will take heart, and will definitely try to make some change. Thank you. And thank you for watching Your Health, Your Action. We'll be back with you again next week. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Peter. Good night.